Hello, so nice to see you again. Welcome back. And we're going to look at yet another topical solution. And this video, we're going to look at the topic of series. And the subject or the paper code that we're going to look at is IGCSE Maths 0606. And the questions on the series or progression that we have chosen for this video is the specimen paper for examination 2020 and paper 1. Let's look into that question. As I stated at the top here, this is the general helpful tips in approaching this type of questions. The first part, as I put down there, translating. Well, translating what? Translating the words given to us in the questions into mathematical notation. And for what purpose? Which is so that we can form into equation. And secondly, another helpful tip is solving simultaneous equations. Almost all the time, okay, we will encounter the occasion where we need to form two equations, and in order to find either the A or either the D or whichever, we are going to involve the skill of solving simultaneous equation. So that are two helpful tips in approaching this type of questions. Well, let's read this question. A, an arithmetic progression has a first term of 5 and a common difference of 3. So that's what we have found. So what we know that the first term, we know that n or a equals to 5, which is the one that we have translated there. And then the common difference of negative 3, this is what we have noted them down. Continue reading the question. Find the number of terms such that the sum to n terms is first less than negative 200. Okay. What does it mean by the sum to n terms? That means this series, you notice that the difference is negative. It also tells you that this series is going to be a descending progression. In other words, it may start with 5, was given here, start with 5, and then it will go deducting 3 each time they go to the next term. So from negative 3, okay, from 5, it will minus 3 to 2, and then from 2 is going to minus 3, it's going to minus 1, it's going to minus 3, going negative 4. It will just go down and down and down towards all the more and more negative value because it's a descending progression. Now, what does it mean that sum to the n term? Yeah, so you know that you're going to add for the first term 5 with 2, negative 1, and then you're going to add on. Then you will realize that you're going to get the summation is going towards negative total, and they want you to find the very least or the very first nearest to the n when the sum, the S of n, the sum is lesser than negative 200. So in other words, you're going to find the end value. Okay, now what we're going to do is, as usual, you draw the formula from the formula sheet from the page 2 of the exam paper, and you're going to look for the one that's going to tell us the sum to n for arithmetic progression. Then over here, I have drawn them up and pasted it here for your reference. And also I've stated here where you can find this formula. And with the sum to n, we know that we're going to use the sum to n formula. And there are two formulas here. Okay, for this case, we are not going to use this one. Why? Reason number one, we know the A, but we do not know the L, which is the last term. Okay, we just interested to find what is the very first, and when you sum total up of all the terms, it will be less than 200. So you do not have to go to find out the L or the last term. So what you're going to do is we're going to use this version of the formula. Okay, so now what we're going to do, just take the formula half, n copy down, 2 copy down, a copy down, plus, and then n minus 1d. But you're not going to stop there, of course. Yes, I almost can hear you say that. Yeah, just going to translate less than minus 200. Just go ahead and take that. Put in the notation of lesser than minus 200. Now you have fully translated the sentences into your mathematical notation. Good shape. So what you're going to do from here onwards is you're going to rearrange, simplify, going to solve for n value. Let's move on. What manipulation are we doing here? What I do here is I eliminate the fraction by multiplying 2 across, and that's where we just multiply that. Okay, yeah, as you notice that we do the substitution, and then once you arrive in this place, when you have got all of these brackets simplified to 13 minus 3, this is where I eliminate the fraction. So I multiply 2 across, then you eliminate the fraction into 1, and then the minus 200 now become minus 400. Then what we can do here is expand the bracket. Yep, so 13n minus 3n squared, which is lesser than negative 14. And what we do is we note that the n squared is in negative. So what we do is we multiply negative 1 onto both sides. And being a very careful person, we know that each time for an inequality, when we multiply a negative, the sign is going to flip. All right, let me put a little highlight here. Yes, it's going to flip. If you ever wonder why, let's do a little illustration here. Let's say, if you have, let's say 5, we will say that compared to 2, 5 is bigger than 2. But when we multiply a negative onto this statement, now it has become negative 5, negative 2. Now the next question is, can this statement still true? Yeah, it's no longer true. What we need to do is we have to take this away and we need to substitute it with the flip side of the inequality. Yep, so that is the reason why the flipping sign happened. Okay, so now what we're going to do is let's proceed with the rearrangement. Now you have got your 3n squared into positive, 3n squared minus 3n, now it's bigger than 400. Then you got for yourself a quadratic. Yep. Then you can get the help from the calculator to find for the value of n. You're going to punch a calculator and find the two critical values. Yep. I'm sure by now you've seen on your calculator N1, do you get that as 13.9 or something? And then you got for the N2, which is a -9. Okay, as we have learned before, N is a ordinal number. It is the number of position. It is a third, fourth, 20th, 12th. So it's not going to be a negative number. There has to be always a positive value. So for that reason, we shall discard -9. Then we will focus on 13.9. Then it says that by the time we add up to the 12th term, it is not less than 200 yet. So if we add to 13, it's still not less than 200 yet. So the first or the nearest, the next term that will get the sum total to less than 200 will be the 14th term. And there you get for yourself the full mark for these questions. Now let's proceed to part B. A geometric progression such that its third term is equal to 81/64 and its fifth term is equal to 729/1024. Part 1. Find the first term of this progression and the positive ratio of this progression. 5 marks allocated. Okay, with the clearly stipulated geometric progression, you just know what to do. Go to the formula sheet of the page 2 in exam paper, draw out the formula. Now, which formula would you look at? You're going to look at the n term. Yep, because they give you the n term. That is n equals to 3. And you know that n term, which is n to the 3, supposed to equal to 81/64. And from the other statement, this fifth term, you know that n equals to 5. And then you, for the fifth term, supposed to be 729/1024. So this is what I meant by translating from English sentences into mathematical notation. Okay, so what we do now, from the formula given to us, you do the substitution respectively. For the third term, n equals to 3, and equate it with 81/64. And you end temporarily conclude it as equation 1. Then for the fifth term, you do the same thing. Substitute n equals to 5 into the formula. Simplify into AR power 4 equals 729/1024. You've got for yourself 2 equations in front of you. Yes, so awesome. You already know what to do. Let's go solve the simultaneous equations. Now, what method do we choose to eliminate or progress with the simultaneous equation? You can be creative. You may not have to be using the same method that as I am doing. Okay, as long as you're confident, as long as you are accurate. That's it, no problem. Okay, here, what I choose to do is, I choose to take equation 2 divided by equation 1 with the nice purpose of eliminate the a. And with the indice rules, we know that r to the power 4 divide r to the power 2 is going to leave behind r to the power 2. And then over on the equation, just do accordingly. Equation 2 divide equation 1. Then from all the simplification, you can do this even with the help of calculator, and we get r squared equals to 9 over 16. Then we take square root both sides. The left hand side, you arrive as your subject as r, and on the right hand side, you got the plus minus square root of 9 over 16, and that draw you to the two possible r value, which is one where r equals to negative 3 over 4, and the other one r equals to positive 3 over 4. But now, as was given, instructed, stated in the equation, they want a positive common ratio. Yep. So what you're going to do is we will just discard the negative 3 over 4, and we will conclude our common ratio only at the positive 3 over 4. And then, now the next thing is, they also ask us to find the first term. So what are we going to do? Yes, we just take the r that you have just found, positive 3 over 4, substitute it into equation 1 or equation 2, whichever that you solve it, no problem. You're going to arrive at the same answer. Here I sub it into equation 1, therefore a with the 3 over 4 square equals to 84 over 64. By divide this over, and with the help of calculator, I have got the a as 9 over 4, and then is full mark answer. And the 5 marks are allocated, and 5 marks are secured by you and me and all of our friends. Okay, let's move on to the final part of this question. Hence, find the sum to infinity of this progression. Of course, with the word hence, we know for all these years of practicing, we know that we're going to use back the answer from the previous sections. So now we know that from part 1, we have already found out r equals to 3 over 4, a equals to 9 over 4, and by the question asking sum to infinity, you go to the formula sheet again, draw out the formula accordingly. And so what you do now is you just take sum to infinity equals to sub with the a, which is 9 over 4, and then the r you already found as 3 over 4. With a little help of calculator, then you got that as 9. Nice. So what a great experience. So you have done this whole paper, not paper, this question. All right. So congratulations. Okay. So you can take your time, digest through the information, digest through the workings, and what are the helpful techniques are we doing, and in what way can we improve our speed and accuracy towards full marks. All right, so I will surely wishing you all the best in all your learning, and especially when you encounter with any of the questions, just let us know, or contact me, or leave that as a comment, or find that in any way, so that if I will get to know the information, if you have the questions, I will do my best to explain and further clarify that for you. All right, so before we say goodbye, last but not least, I want to wish you happy learning and looking forward to see you again in the next video. There are so much more wonders for us to explore. Right. Okay. All the best. See you soon. Bye-bye.